Welcome to another episode of Commercial Property Roadshow. You're here with Helen Tarrant, and today I'm actually going to do some comparisons for you. So yield and whether you bought a right deal or not is really deals in hindsight, right? A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people are looking at the now, and they're looking at it and going, well, I'm getting let's just hypothetically say you're in regional and you're getting an 8 or 8.5% deal, and you're in actually quite regional flat areas, fringe, and you're thinking, oh my God, I've got this deal. But is it a great deal? I'm feeling too risky. I should pull out. And then someone tells you you're never going to have that same deal again, right? Do you believe them, or do you think that they're absolutely telling you crap, right? But the thing is, that's actually often true. Whether it's a good deal or not, it's actually dealt in hindsight. When you go through it and the work that comes to putting a deal together, you realize whether you should have paid for that. Like people always say, today's expensive is tomorrow's cheap. And that's absolutely true in real estate, right? But did you get the right returns? And what does diminishing returns mean? So one of the interesting things is that, I get shot a lot of deals by agents and they say, oh, my vendor's looking at this deal. They're looking at this price point. And I'm like, well, I don't think that's the right price point. I think it's something else, and we have a debate about it. And look, whether it's true or not, most of the time, the agents don't agree with me. But then, I find that, a month or 6 weeks later, they go, oh, yeah, remember that deal? We went to auction, we did all the ZOIs, it didn't work, and, we want to now go and do a deal with you. So what I want to actually show you is history. Hindsight, or what this similar area did 2.5 years ago. So we had an offer on and we obviously settled on a property in 2019. Now there's another property that's similar, very close to this property, that's come up for sale. Very similar in terms of the property itself, but now instead of getting a 7% yield, which is what we got for the client in mid to late 2019, now at this property they want 5.4% yield. So should you be paying 5.4% yield in this current market for this deal? Would you, in 2 years' time, look back in hindsight and go, did I get a great deal? So that's what I'm trying to give you, is the perspective of looking at what the market is now and really being realistic, because I deal with so many buyers in my buyer's agency part of the business that say, oh, I want more. I want more than my 6%, or I want more than my 7%. And you go, well, that's not going to happen in this current market. And they don't believe you. And they go out there and they find a property that is shorter tenancies, or they go out there and they find a property in a different location. They go, yeah, well, I got a 7% there, or I got a 6% there. Well, the thing is, yes, but did you get it because you got the bargain of the century, or did you get it because you actually you paid the wrong yield for it because of the short leases in the areas? And that is where people are most at risk. And this is why I want to show you the comparison. This is something that, I want to do for you on this YouTube channel that other people don't, which is, rather than talk about strategy, let's look at something live. So I'm going to share screens with you, and I'm going to show you the first property that at the moment that's come up and what the vendor wants. And I'm going to share with you what we did previously, right? So this property is in Murari. Now, most people say to me that Murari is a very sought after suburb. Now, it absolutely is. Now, where it is, it's just past a bit from the airport to just the airport, just outside the airport, in between the airport and going into the city. And it's an area that has a lot of industrial properties that have industrial warehousing plus office space properties. And it's quite a developed area. So it's a gentrified area already, well-to-do area. You've got a lot of professionals, and, their rent is fairly high. So, and it's, look, people do look, if they want the logistics of it, they want the feel of being in that area, then yeah, absolutely, that's where they want to be actually. Selling a property at a higher price point, lower yield. So this property itself is in Murari. It's in a complex. So, number 14 out of 53 is a complex. It ends at the end of January. That's the EOI. So, it's current. It's just currently being listed. Now, one of the things that the agent do tell me is that this property itself, one of the highlights of this property is that it's got 3 tenancies in it. Now, should you be paying a premium for multi-tenancies? Another question. But you can see here, it doesn't have a lot of warehousing. It will have some warehousing, but mostly it is an office space downstairs and upstairs as well. So let's go through that. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. So we've got that. See, okay, so now we've got the tenancy details here. All right, so there's 3 tenants in there. They all started late last year or mid last year, so varying terms, and they end October 2024, February 2023, and January 2023. So they were all on 2 to 3 year leases, which is good. They've got options there. The kind of tenants are there. We've got waste management. We've got a group of companies here for financial products, and we've got a yoga studio as well. So we've got different type of tenants. We've got tenants that have the different layouts are different for the tenants, so the office spaces are different, and it's property the property split up into 3 tenancies. So of course later on you can re-tenant, and of course smaller office spaces at the moment is the trend because people are downsizing and the versatility of that. So the agencies look, the overall average WALE is 1.5 years. I said, well, for me, that's not a brilliant WALE. It's something you can get started, but it's definitely not a brilliant WALE. Remember, the vendor wants 5.4% yield. He wants 1.6 million for this property, right? It's a deal that hasn't been officially launched into the market, has gone to a few of the first investors. So we can see that it's 103 square meters, 76 square meters, 156 square meters. That's the rents they're paying. They each have 3 car spaces. So there's 10 car spaces. So there's quite a lot of car spaces, which is great. No options. So that's not brilliant, but gives you a chance to negotiate with them at the time as well. The yoga studio has an option, but annual reviews are not the best. 2%, that's probably just CPI or even below CPI at the moment. So that's you can definitely tweak that or put the rent up for the other 2. So we can look at the office spaces. Look, it looks like a really neat and tidy property. Not many photos of the property, which is quite unusual because it normally would add a lot more photos of the property. So we don't get to see as many of those. We've got an Excel, which is just the expression of interest form. But it gives you an idea of what the property looks like, right? And that's the most important thing, is to know what you know what you're looking at. Now, with this property, it is a office space, but it is in a complex with warehousing. So you're going to get your mixed type of tenants who wants a showroom, who wants a B2C and B2B type of tenants. If this tenant doesn't work, you're going to be in a professional hub, you're going to be in a trade hub as well. So you're going to get a lot of that civil engineering, trade waste tenants that they have. You get probably a lot of people about even coaching tenants in there. So people who are doing life coaching, kids therapies, a lot of those people will be in that complex. So the hub is actually really good. Now, obviously, we know the location is quite good. We know the hub is quite good. I'm just going to put into Google Maps this address. So then I'm going to share that with you so you can have a look at it. So we've got Google Maps here. So you get to see where it's located. I'll share that with you. So this is where the property is. We can look at the street view. Let's look at, here we go. Here's a street view of the property. So you get to see it's in an area where you've got a lot of this type of warehousing. So you can see in here, let's see if we can go in a little bit more. That is looking like it's got quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 10, 14, 15, 16, probably somewhere between 16 to 20 in that complex. So it's not a huge complex. So this is the property in Murari. We can see that it's surrounded by otherwise like tenants as well. You can see there's lots and lots of like tenants here. Now, the other property I want to share with you is a property deal that we did in 2019. So this was an occupational therapist. They do a lot of kids therapies. So this is again, very similar in the layout. Office space, can be a showroom in the same kind of type of building, upstairs, downstairs. This was done we went under contract in mid 2019, and then we settled around August 2019. So it's been about 2.5 years, and it was on a 5-year lease, and we got that at 7%. So I just want to share that with you so you get to see what things were in hindsight and what type of property that was. So here, this is a property in same in Murari, same property. and I will I'll share with you a little bit more. Go down a little bit. Okay, so there, a national tenant, blue chip tenant, national tenant, brand new 5-year lease plus 3-year options. It was returning 74,250. We got it just under 1.1 million. This is 330 square meters. The other one we're currently looking at is 450 square meters. Strategically located, very similar, high layout. There's not many photos of the actual property here. You can see. We've just got the outside of it, but I actually have photos of this place, but obviously when we did the inspection, but internally it was just set up as an office space, upstairs, downstairs. They could park, there's 5 parking spaces with it, so 2 underneath and then 3 next to it as well. So, and they've got the roller door there as well as part of that complex. So they've got a part of it that is a warehouse property. So that probably illustrates to you how much the yield has changed over the last 2.5 years. We've gone from a 7% or just above 7% in 2019 to now opening beginning of the year where the vendor's expectations at 5.5% for the same type of property. So let's just say that, you know, if you did buy this property in 2019, and this is where people say there is no capital growth in commercial property, and I'm saying you're absolutely wrong. Even if the rents didn't move, and the rents did, but even if the rents didn't move and now you were able to sell that property for 5.5%, that property is worth 1.35 million. And I know the person who bought it for just under 1.1. So they would have gained close to $300,000 in capital growth in that time. And in the meantime, they've also picked up probably with this property, somewhere around $40,000 in terms of passive income, as well as the growth in the back end. So those people who say you get nothing from commercial property in terms of capital growth, you're absolutely wrong. You've got to know where you position, where you should be buying to get that capital growth as well. But let's just put that into Google Maps and see how far it's located from the other one, so you can see what the difference is with that. So I'm just going to stop sharing that, and then I can put that. I'll just share that so you know where the locations of the property is, and it's within 3 minutes drive of each other. So you can see this is Metro Place, the one I've shown you, and you can see where 22 Palmer's Place is. So it's all within that complex, 3 minutes drive to within each other. So pretty much within dead straight spot on in that same suburb. And you can see the difference is, so if you bought in that suburb in 2019, that is a 7% yield in that area. And probably at the time when we bought it, most people were probably in another area that's not as good as Murari, would have probably got about probably 7.5% in Brisbane, and someone else paid 7%. And at the time, the purchaser did feel like he was paying top of the market, but in actual fact, he wasn't. And I could see that with time to come, definitely there was capital gains. What it's enabled him to do was refinance against that property and buy again. So the question now comes down to, would you buy the current property for offer in Metroplex for 5.5%? For me, personally, probably no. At 6%, I would do the deal, not at 5.5%. And let me tell you why. Now, and the reason for that is I would never put my clients into a property deal I wouldn't do myself. Right. And it's not about the sale, it's about building long-term equity. 5.5 with tenants that have leases that expire in 2023, which is probably about a year away. If you have to change over that tenant, your 5.5 drops to 5. And then all of a sudden, if you're getting your loans at about 3%, your margin starts to compress, right? So that starts to eat into your cash flow and start putting stress on your cash flow. The other thing is, what else can you get at 5.5? Well, 5.5 right now in the Brisbane market is really industrial rates, right? And you should be getting industrial property because that's the flavor of the month. That's where people find it most popular, but that's also why people are paying a premium. For office spaces at 450 square meters, yes, there's versatility. Yes, it's already been divided up. Yes, they've done the work for it, but I wouldn't be paying a premium for that multi-tenancy. So 5.5, I think it's too tight, the yield. 6% definitely, and that's what I've communicated back. At 6%, I think you're getting a good deal. I think you're getting a fair deal. And I think that in times to come, you could increase the rent and you could be ahead of the game. And that's what I'd be communicating to our purchase, to any potential purchaser of that property on. If I was looking at 5.5, I'll be looking at industrial in that area. I would be looking at industrial further out, but I'll also be looking back into Sydney. At 5.5%, yes, I could get a lesser property, but the property location could be in Sydney or Melbourne. And why wouldn't I? Right? So you got to always compare back. You can't just be tunnel vision into one area. Yes, it is a great area. What's Murray comparable to? A Sydney suburb or a Melbourne suburb. You got to look at that as well. And then you got to look at, well, what is your long-term goal? If your long-term goal is cash flow, 5.5% is not going to give you cash flow. When you're at 5.5%, you should be looking at something that can give you some growth as well as that cash flow. Because if you're chasing purely cash flow, you should still be looking at your 6.5s, right? Because there is more margin in between what the bank's lending you and what you're getting from your tenant. So these are some of the strategies I need to work through with you individually as a purchaser. So if you're looking at coming on board, there's nothing better than start your year with a strategy session. So go to helentarrant.com, send me an email, let's jump on a strategy session and let's get started with your year. If you're looking for more comparisons, if you're liking these comparisons, send me an email or make a comment below and say, I want more of this, so I can share with you what we've done in the past in an area. I can show you how the area has changed, and I can show you what's also trending in this area and my personal opinions about the property deals as well. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the button, the bell, and I look forward to sharing with you more tips on commercial property in my next video. But if you have any ideas that you want me to present, any questions, post it below, and I look forward to speaking and hearing from you in the future. And don't forget, jump in and let's have a strategy session so I can help you build your commercial property portfolio the right way.